Shaquille O'Neal just put LeBron James outside the inner circle of Lakers legends, saying he's at the party but not on stage. The comment quickly sparked debate across sports media and among fans. Keep watching to see why Shaq's words have reopened the question of where LeBron really belongs in Lakers history. It started with a straightforward question. A reporter from USA Today's For the Win asked Shaquille O'Neal how LeBron James' time with the Lakers should be remembered. Now that James has moved on to Philadelphia, Shaq didn't hesitate. He went straight to the ring count. The good thing for LeBron, he did win one. Shaq said of LeBron's tenure in Los Angeles. But you know, Kareem got 6, Magic got 5, Kobe got 5, I got 4, Rambis got 3. So you know he's at the party, but he's not on stage. Take a second with that line. Kurt Rambis, a role player best known for wearing glasses and setting screens in the 1980s, got name-dropped ahead of LeBron James in a Lakers hierarchy conversation. That's not an accident. That's Shaq making a point and making it land. Here's the thing about timing. This wasn't some random off-season filler quote. James had just ended an 8-season run with the Lakers and signed with the Philadelphia 76ers, and in an unprecedented 24th season in the NBA, LeBron James was trying to make even more history with his new 4th team, joining Jaylen Brown, Joel Embiid, and Tyrese Maxey to make them a championship contender in the Eastern Conference. The ink was barely dry on that deal when Shaq started ranking him below Kareem, Magic, and Kobe on his own former team. Now, to be fair to Shaq, he wasn't trying to bury LeBron entirely. In the same breath, he was defending him from other critics. Shaquille O'Neal had been a staunch defender of LeBron James's move, from the Lakers to the 76ers, squashing any criticism of the league's all-time leading scorer being a ring chaser, insisting the man wasn't chasing rings. He'd already gotten rings the right way. But one thing the Lakers legend wouldn't do was sugarcoat James's time with the purple and gold. So you had two things happening in the same conversation. Shaq defending LeBron's decision to leave, and Shaq demoting LeBron's place in Lakers history. In the same breath, practically the same sentence. That combination is exactly what set off the reaction. And the reaction was immediate. Bleacher Report posted the clip, and the replies underneath weren't measured. One fan wrote that Shaq was counting rings like he didn't need Kobe to even get invited, that LeBron dragged a struggling roster to a title and still got disrespected, and that Lakers legends are just guys who inherited better rosters. Another pointed out the math looked selective, asking why Shaq was claiming 4 championships, and Kareem's 6, when they didn't win all of those with the Lakers, while LeBron's 1 ring came entirely with the franchise. A third didn't hold back on the roster jab either, calling out Shaq, throwing Rambis in there over Worthy and Cooper as nasty work. That's 3 separate fan voices, 3 separate angles of attack, all firing at Shaq within hours of the clip going up. And this is before LeBron himself said a single word. Because here's what makes this story different from a normal internet squabble. LeBron James does not let things like this sit quietly. He has a track record, and Shaq, for his part, has a track record of poking at that legacy question again and again, in ways that always seem to circle back to the same number. 1 championship, 1 banner, 1 ring, standing next to Kareem's 6 and Magic's 5 and Kobe's 5 and his own 4. The stage was set the moment those words left Shaq's mouth, because LeBron James does not sit quietly when someone puts a ceiling over his Lakers legacy, and everyone watching this unfold knew a response was coming. To understand why this particular jab cut as deep as it did, you have to understand the shape of the exit itself. LeBron didn't get traded. He didn't get bought out. He spent 8 seasons with the Lakers, the longest uninterrupted stretch he had spent with any NBA team, before informing the Lakers he would not return for the upcoming season, bringing that run in Los Angeles to an end. He chose to leave on his terms, the same way he's chosen almost everything else in his career. And the number attached to that stretch is oddly specific and now impossible to unsee. LeBron James spent exactly 2,913 days under contract with the Los Angeles Lakers after agreeing to join the franchise in the summer of 2018. 8 years, 1 title, and now a Hall of Famer who wore the same jersey standing in front of a camera, doing math out loud and landing on a verdict. He's in the building, but he's not upstairs with the greats. That's the spark. That's the line that's now bouncing around every NBA group chat, every radio show, every comment section with LeBron's name in it. And it's not going away quietly, because nothing involving these two ever does. If you think this is the first time LeBron and Shaq have found themselves on opposite sides of a legacy argument, you haven't been paying attention. These two have a pattern. Shaq throws something out into the world about LeBron's place in the game. and LeBron, sooner or later, makes sure everyone knows he saw it. Go back to a stretch when the Lakers were fighting just to make the play-in picture. Shaq went on air and made a comment about fear, about which players actually intimidated opponents on a basketball court. I've heard players say, including myself, I feared Michael Jordan, O'Neal said. I've heard players in your generation say they feared Kobe Bryant. I've never really heard any players say they fear LeBron. That's a real shot, not a compliment wrapped in a joke. A direct statement that LeBron, for all his numbers, never made opponents feel the way Jordan or Kobe did. And LeBron didn't let it slide. LeBron James took to Instagram and responded in jest to a comparison between him and Shaquille O'Neal in light of the latter, saying that players don't fear James. The post that caught LeBron's attention was a stat comparison, pointing out that LeBron had a run of 1,210 consecutive games, with 10-plus points, while O'Neal played in 1,207 total games across his entire NBA career. LeBron didn't need to write a paragraph. He just needed to share it. The math did the talking. Shaq spent his whole career playing in fewer games. Then LeBron has strung together with double-digit scoring nights, back to back to back. That's the blueprint. That's how LeBron operates when someone questions him. He doesn't usually go on a podcast and rant. He finds the number, the stat, the receipt, and he puts it in front of you. Now fast forward to the current legacy jab, and you start to see why this one hits differently. It's not about fear or intimidation this time. It's about championships, the one category where LeBron's Lakers tenure genuinely comes up short, compared to the Kareems and Magics and Kobes of the world. You can clap back at a "nobody fears you" comment with a stat about consistency. It's a lot harder to clap back at a ring count with anything other than more championships, which is exactly the kind of ammunition LeBron doesn't have sitting in his pocket anymore. That's part of why this particular Shaq comment landed the way it did. It wasn't really new information. Anyone who follows the Lakers knows LeBron won one title there. But hearing it framed as he's at the party but he's not on stage, from a man who wore the same warm-up jacket, in the same building, standing next to those same retired jerseys, that stings in a way a stranger's opinion never could. And Shaq knows exactly how much weight his opinion carries on this subject, because he's been circling this exact debate for months, not just this one clip. Go back to an earlier interview, before the 76ers move was even finalized, when the questions were about whether LeBron's bubble championship should even count. Shaq went out of his way to defend it. "I'm not the one you should ask about that," Shaq said when discussing LeBron's 2020 title. "But he won a championship with the Lakers, and a lot of people try to discredit it. If that one doesn't count, then you can't count Mr. Duncan's bubble championship either. If we're counting Tim Duncan's lockout year championship, then you have to count LeBron's too." So this is a man who has spent real time publicly defending the legitimacy of LeBron's ring. He's not questioning whether it counts. He's questioning whether one is enough to put LeBron on the top floor. Those are two very different arguments, and Shaq has now made both of them, sometimes within the same week. He even went further on the statue question, something Lakers fans take almost religiously seriously. Shaq weighed in on whether LeBron deserves a statue outside the arena alongside Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Kobe Bryant, saying LeBron broke the scoring record and did it as a Laker, and that he wouldn't oppose him getting a statue in Los Angeles, that he's a great player who did what he was supposed to do as a Laker. So picture LeBron reading all of this in sequence. 1 month, Shaq is telling reporters he deserves a statue. Weeks later, Shaq is telling reporters he's at the party but not on stage. Those aren't contradictions exactly. Shaq's internal logic is consistent. He's always drawing a line between respecting what LeBron did and refusing to rank him with the 4, 5, and 6 ring guys. But from the outside, especially from LeBron's side of it, it can look like praise with an asterisk every single time. Compliment, then footnote. Compliment, then footnote. And LeBron has never been the type of competitor who lets a footnote like that just sit there unanswered for long. Not when it's about fear. Not when it's about scoring records. And especially not when it's about a championship he worked his entire final years in Los Angeles to deliver. Strip away the personalities for a second and look at what this fight is actually about. Numbers. Specifically, whose numbers count more and under what conditions. Shaq's argument is built entirely on ring totals. According to O'Neal, the Lakers' legacy is measured by championship banners. And while winning one title puts the league's all-time leading scorer among the franchise's legends, Shaq believes James has not reached the highest tier. 6 for Kareem, 5 for Magic, 5 for Kobe, 4 for Shaq himself, 3 for Rambis, 1 for LeBron. Clean, simple, and brutal in its simplicity. But here's where it gets messy, and where the fans jumping into the replies actually had a point worth sitting with. Not all of those rings were won in the same jersey, in the same era, under the same conditions. O'Neal drew a sharp distinction between joining that historic group and standing at its center, saying, "The good thing for LeBron, he did win one. But you know, Kareem got 6, Magic got 5, Kobe got 5, I got 4, Rambis got 3, so you know, he's at the party but he's not on stage." Except Kareem won some of those 6 titles with the Milwaukee Bucks before he ever put on purple and gold. Shaq won one of his 4 with the Miami Heat, long after he left the Lakers. The 6-5-5-4 column isn't a clean rings won as a Laker column at all. It's total championships across entire careers, mixed in with Lakers only totals for effect. That's exactly the inconsistency fans flagged within minutes. One commenter asked why Shaq was claiming 4 rings and Kareem 6 when they didn't win all of those with the Lakers, while LeBron's single ring came entirely with the franchise. It's a fair question. If you're going to build a hierarchy strictly on ring counts, the counting has to be consistent, same measuring stick for everybody, every time. Otherwise, you're not measuring Lakers' legacy. You're measuring career totals and dressing it up as a Lakers conversation. Now let's look at what LeBron actually did produce during those 8 seasons, because the numbers there tell a more complicated story than he only won once. James captured a championship with Los Angeles in 2020, giving his tenure a defining team achievement, and he also leaves with a notable statistical record. Including playoff games, the Lakers finished 319-223 during his 8 seasons. His postseason mark stood at 32-31, and his per-game line reached 25.9 points, 7.7 rebounds, and 7.9 assists. Those aren't empty stats. A near 26-7-8 average across 8 seasons, well into his mid-30s by the end of it, against a league that scouted him for 2 decades and still couldn't figure out how to slow him down. And when you actually stack those numbers against Lakers legends, people rarely question. The comparison gets uncomfortable for the "he's not on stage" argument. Those figures compare favorably with the production of several prominent former Lakers, including James Worthy and Abdul-Jabbar, though that comparison also requires context. Since Abdul-Jabbar shared a lineup with Worthy and Johnson, distributing production among multiple stars, LeBron, for stretches of his Lakers run, was doing it without anything close to that level of surrounding talent. There's also the era he inherited. This wasn't a Lakers team he joined mid-dynasty. He became a franchise figure for the Lakers upon joining the team, which had missed the playoffs for 5 straight seasons. 5 years of nothing. No banners going up, no parade route being planned. LeBron walked into a rebuild, and within 2 seasons, he delivered an NBA championship in 2020, ending the Lakers' decade-long title drought. That context matters, because Kareem, Magic, and Kobe never had to resurrect a dead franchise from scratch. They stepped into contention, or they built dynasties over uninterrupted stretches, where the front office kept surrounding them with Hall of Famers. LeBron got 5 years of losing basketball handed to him, and 1 ring out of it, in a season that had to be finished inside a quarantine bubble in Central Florida because of a global pandemic. No fans, no home court advantage, no travel schedule, just basketball in a bubble for months on end. Shaq, to his credit, has actually defended that specific point before, insisting the bubble title should count just as much as any other, comparing it directly to Tim Duncan's own shortened season championship. But defending the legitimacy of the ring and ranking the ring's weight against Kareem's 6 are 2 separate battles, and Shaq keeps fighting only one of them in LeBron's favor. So where does that leave the actual math? Depending on how you slice it, LeBron's got the individual per-game production of a top 5 Laker of all time, the championship that ended one of the franchise's longest playoff droughts, and a longevity record that outproduces the total games played by some of the men now ranked above him. What he doesn't have is the banner count. And in Shaq's framework, and honestly in a lot of old-school NBA thinking, banners are the only column that matters. That's the actual fight underneath the fight. It's not personal animosity dressed up as basketball analysis. It's 2 completely different value systems about what makes a legend a legend. Rings versus production, banners versus longevity, colliding over one specific 8-year window in LeBron's career. And neither side is walking away from their number. Once the clip started circulating, this stopped being a two-man argument. It turned into something closer to a courtroom, with everybody grabbing a seat and picking a side. The Bleacher Report replies alone read like a battlefield. Beyond the nasty work and factually inaccurate callouts already circulating, there was a deeper current running through the comments. A resentment toward the entire premise that Lakers greatness has its own separate scoreboard from NBA. Greatness in general. One widely shared post argued that some fans think being a Lakers legend is bigger than being an NBA legend, calling out that mentality as delusional. Franchise pride mistaken for something bigger than the league itself, which the post called pompous and arrogant. That same post went further, flipping the entire debate on its head, arguing that LeBron is bigger than the Lakers and that he saved the franchise during the twilight of his career. That's a completely different frame than Shaq's. Shaq's ranking LeBron inside the Lakers' internal trophy case. This fan is saying the trophy case doesn't matter. LeBron's bigger than the building it's sitting in. Two value systems colliding in real time in the comment section of a single tweet. Then there's the loyalty argument, the one that cuts hardest for anyone who remembers LeBron's exit from Cleveland the first time around. One fan pointed out that LeBron won titles with 3 different franchises, adding that Lakers fans never fully accepted him to begin with, regardless of how they now want to gatekeep who counts as a legend. That's not a stats argument anymore. That's a fan basically accusing the Lakers fan base of having it both ways, wanting credit for LeBron's title while never fully claiming him as one of their own. And this is where a fourth voice matters. Someone with actual Lakers pedigree, not just a comment section handle. Byron Scott, a Showtime-era Lakers guard who won championships in that purple and gold, before either Shaq or LeBron ever set foot in the building, weighed in on the statue and legacy conversation from a different angle entirely. Where Shaq measures greatness in banners, Byron Scott's position was that without multiple NBA titles in Los Angeles, that side of the debate stays unresolved, no matter how the individual numbers look. So even among actual Lakers legends, not internet commenters, actual men who won championships in that building, there isn't agreement on how to rank LeBron. Shaq says he's in the building but not upstairs. Scott's take leans on the same ring count logic, but frames it as an open question rather than a settled verdict. 3 separate camps. 3 separate former or current Lakers voices essentially arguing about the same 8 years of basketball, and none of them landing on identical conclusions. That's not a clean narrative. That's a genuine, unresolved argument playing out with real names attached to it. Meanwhile, over in Philadelphia, there's a different kind of pressure building, one that has nothing to do with rings and everything to do with fit. Shaq's actual concern, buried underneath all the legacy talk, was less about the past and more about the present. Shaq said he's worried about Maxey and Brown because Embiid is going to want the ball, and LeBron loves having the ball too, with Brown and Maxey both used to controlling possessions, deep into the shot clock, and Embiid wanting it in the post, meaning the young guards might only see the ball with 2 or 3 seconds left, a completely different rhythm than what they're used to. He said he doesn't know if they're ready for that. That's Shaq the analyst, separate from Shaq, the legacy judge. And it's a reminder that everything he says about LeBron gets filtered through a basketball mind that's constantly running probabilities, not just nostalgia. It's worth remembering, too, that Shaq and LeBron aren't strangers throwing stones from a distance. They actually shared a locker room once. LeBron James and Shaquille O'Neal did play on the same team, the Miami Heat, joining as teammates for 2 seasons after Shaq arrived first, and LeBron signed a year later. Shaq was on the back 9 of his career by then, LeBron just entering his prime, but that shared history is part of why Shaq's opinion carries weight that a random pundits never could. He's not a stranger sizing up LeBron from a studio desk. He's a teammate, a former Laker, a guy who's watched this specific career from up close for the better part of 2 decades. And that's exactly why fans keep dragging his own history into the argument. If Shaq's going to rank rings, people are going to point out that Shaq needed Kobe just to get invited to that top tier in the first place, and that LeBron dragging a struggling roster to a title, while getting compared unfavorably to Ramby's, strikes a lot of people as backwards. Fair or not, that's the temperature of this thing right now. Nobody's neutral, everybody's got a stake, and the actual basketball keeps getting buried under who said what about who. Here's what makes this whole saga strange. If you actually follow Shaq's commentary closely, instead of just the one viral clip, he's never fully committed to the harsh version of his own take. Every time he lands a hard punch on LeBron's Lakers legacy, He softens it almost immediately, sometimes in the very same breath. Go back to an earlier round of this exact question. When Shaq was asked directly how LeBron's Los Angeles run would be remembered by history, he rejected the idea that LeBron left underappreciated. "It's not underappreciated," O'Neal said. "It's called the business of basketball. They use you for what they can, and then when it's time for them to do something else, go do something else. Only a few players get to stay. Like Magic was lucky, he got to stay there the whole time." That's not really an insult. That's Shaq describing the entire league as a machine that chews up and moves on from everybody, LeBron included, and framing his exit as business as usual rather than some personal failure. He went even further in a separate conversation, getting almost sympathetic about why Lakers fans might feel differently about LeBron than they did about the guys who came before him. Asked about his own complicated relationship with the fan base compared to Kobe's, Shaq didn't dodge it. "Well, they didn't love me," O'Neal said. "They loved Kobe. They didn't love me. Listen, this is what we call BOB, brother. The business of basketball. When you're like me, when I'm in charge, I'm a difficult man to deal with. The thing has to be done my way. And sometimes people don't agree with that." That's Shaq, a four-time champion, admitting the fan base never fully embraced him either, which puts his own ranking of LeBron in a strange light. He's not speaking from some untouchable perch above the criticism. He's speaking as someone who's also felt that same fan base's conditional love. So what actually happens next? LeBron hasn't needed to post a single word for this to keep building, because the ecosystem around him, the fans, the former Lakers, the talk shows, is doing the arguing for him, the same way it did back when the "Nobody Fears LeBron" clip made the rounds, and he let a stat comparison do his talking. If the pattern holds, don't expect a press conference. Expect a quiet post, a stat, a screenshot, something that reframes the conversation without LeBron ever raising his voice. And Shaq, for his part, doesn't seem to be backing down from the ranking itself, just continuing to wrap it in the same career arc language he's used all along. LeBron's now heading into a 76ers roster built around Embiid, Maxey, and Brown, chasing a title in a city that hasn't celebrated one since 1983. He's going to get all the love he can in Philadelphia, and he'll be backing himself to end the franchise's 43-year title drought. If that happens, the entire Lakers ranking conversation gets a strange new wrinkle: a fourth franchise, a fourth ring, a resume no other player in league history can claim. Until then, the argument just sits there, unresolved, exactly the way both men seem to want it. Shaq keeps handing out the compliment, then footnote treatment. LeBron keeps stacking numbers that make the footnote harder and harder to justify.